So, a while back, we talked about perhaps the most popular of the 2016 four-colored commanders, which was Atraxa. But there was a far better power beyond that of our Infect or +1 counter strategies. We need to tap into the greatest powers of the multiverse, the power of SuperFriends. Cue intro. Wait a minute. Oops. Atraxa's SuperFriends is perhaps one of the most popular and powerful of the Atraxa variants. Utilizing the proliferate mechanic to hasten the abilities of the best Planeswalkers in our colors, the deck can offer some quite powerful board states. We only run 4 creatures in the deck, not counting Atraxa herself, just to give us some bodies on the board. These creatures are run for the utility that they offer the deck. Crystalline Crawler, a newcomer from Atraxa's pre-con, gives us a mana dork that benefits from the proliferate mechanic. This doesn't tap the Crawler for mana, so we can use it as many times as we have +1 counters to spare. It also can tap itself to give another +1 counter to itself. Viral Drake comes with Infect, but we're more interested in that proliferate ability. When we have excess mana, we can dump it into additional proliferate triggers. And of course, every Planeswalker's favorite fish, Deep Glow Skate, offers stupidly good strength in doubling the loyalty counters of all of our walkers. The goal is to get off those Planeswalker's ultimate abilities as fast as possible, and the Skate can easily put many of those walkers into the end zone. Lastly, a small degree of control using Dragonlord Silumgar, who can steal an opposing Planeswalker for as long as we control the dragon. If an opponent has a neat little Planeswalker they're sitting on, we can fix that. The big problem of running SuperFriends is that our cards cost quite a bit of mana. Until Oath of Ajani comes out in Aether Revolt, we need ways to get our mana up and running as fast as we can. Astral Cornucopia is a card I personally like in this deck because of how it can grow exponentially with those proliferate and doubling abilities of our spells. A lot of people have mixed feelings about this card due to its XXX cost, but those charge counters can quickly add up. In the same vein, Everflowing Chalice can get a few extra counters put on it through the proliferate triggers, and we also run Coalition Relic, which also will gain those extra counters fast. We also run a few cards as support to our walkers, which those we'll get into in just a moment. Oaths of Captain Planet, He-Man, and Aquaman will give us a boost when we cast our walkers. We also run Doubling Season. Yes, it has jumped significantly due to Atraxa, but it is such value in this deck, you would be hindering yourself and thereby weakening the deck significantly without it. Your walkers hit the field immediately at double their initial loyalty while Doubling Season's in play. This often will put the majority of your walkers into the range where they may activate their ultimates. Contagion Engine is another card that saw a boost in price following this deck, as the double proliferate is a very powerful trigger. You can utilize it to kill off or weaken your opponent's field with those -1/-1 counters as well. The Chain Veil also gives you a second usage of your Planeswalker's abilities each turn. It might pressure you into using your Walker's abilities, but if you're not using the abilities, what are you doing running SuperFriends? Also, Call of the Gatewatch is pretty gnarly, being a tutor for Planeswalkers, because, you know, Planeswalkers! Lastly, before we start to talk about our walkers, as there are quite a few of them, we have a few board wipes in this deck. Since we're only running 5 creatures total, not counting any tokens that might get created along the way, we need ways to clear the field if opponents are able to get feet on the ground. Cyclonic Rift, Day of Judgment, and Wrath of God are just some of the board wipes you have access to. Merciless Eviction is a great way to help clear out pestilences, whether it be creatures, artifacts, or enchantments. The Planeswalker is good in the mirror match should we be without any field, but I find I rarely use this mode. Alrighty then, the moment you've been waiting for. We're running Atraxa's SuperFriends, but we've yet to talk about a single Planeswalker. What the heck are we running in this deck in terms of walkers? Well, we run a total of 29 walkers, which you can see the full list of them in the description of this video, but we're only going to be talking about the ones that I feel have the most impact. Ajani Steadfast helps boost our loyalty counters, and his ultimate is pretty helpful when we're on the defense. Dovin Baan is a newer walker that I find great utility in using his ultimate. With a stack-style emblem locking down much of your opponent's field, you won't have to worry about too much of defense on your opponent's side. We run a few token generators in the few copies of Elspeth, Nissa, and Garruk. Jace, Architect of Thought, was a card I used to dismiss as one of the weakest Jace cards. He has some pretty good use in his ultimate, as you could search for whichever walker might help you at that moment, as well as steal any other important cards your opponent might have. Jace the Mind Sculptor, whatever, because who needs friends? Narset Transcendent is also really useful for filtering through the top deck to get to your valuable walkers. Tamiyo gives us an Omniscience style emblem without paying a ton of mana to play Omniscience, giving us the free to cast Planeswalkers. Ajani, Mentor of Heroes, can offer us a nice little bit of life gain if we hit that ultimate. Venser the Sojourner lets us blink a Planeswalker to reset it, which is super useful should we want to start using some shenanigans, cue doubling season. Vraska the Unseen, perhaps one of my favorite walkers in all of Magic, has perhaps the best ultimate to get off in this deck if we want creatures. If you have Doubling Season out, you can immediately ult her, she'll survive, and you'll get 6 of those 1/1 super death touchy assassins. Ugin gives a nice ability that I liken to Collected Company for Planeswalkers with his ultimate, as when you draw those 7 cards, you're more than likely going to hit at least 2 walkers, which lets them then hit the field for free. Lastly, another card that has hit a high price tag due to Atraxa is Teferi the Time Lord. His ultimate, which another that can hit immediately because of Doubling Season, lets you use your Planeswalker's abilities during your opponent's turn, which is pretty evil. I think he went to the future, saw Atraxa's arrival, and then came back in order to be the hidden gem among the 2014 Commander decks, but what do I know? Since we already went over Atraxa before using our Infect build, which you can watch the video right here, we're not going to get into mana base for this deck because since we don't run any lands of significant difference compared to the other build, we will need our 4 colors, but if I were to say any land you might want to run for this deck, the man lands could be useful in order to get some power and toughness on the board should we have none. That way, at least we have some offense or defense. I hope you enjoyed this Commander deck tech. Remember to like and share this video with your friends, and subscribe for more Magic the Gathering content.